Well, hello and welcome to day one of my Flourish training. I am so excited to be here. I see that the screen is bouncing around a little bit. I literally have my laptop on my lap, so I'm going to try to stop moving. My name is Jennifer Hooper. I am a life coach, and I help women who are not completely satisfied with their lives. They want something different, but they're not quite sure how to get it. And I help guide and empower and help them go after what they really want. And to me, it's the best job in the world. I offer one-on-one coaching to clients, and I just love watching them transform their lives. I love watching them transform their thinking and really step into their power. I also offer a lot of free trainings like this one. So I hope that you will continue to follow me, continue to enroll in classes, and just stay in touch. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. I realize some of you may have heard this before, but it will be new for some of you. About 8 or 9 years ago, my life completely unraveled. It just fell apart in many ways and on many levels. My father got a brain cancer diagnosis. It's the most aggressive form of brain cancer there was. And he had a prognosis of living 6 to 12 months, which devastated our family. Then 3 or 4 months later, my husband told me that he wanted a divorce, and I was completely blown away. I didn't see it coming. You know, in retrospect, maybe I could have, should have, but I was completely devastated, and I felt like I lost my identity if I wasn't a wife, and if I was only a mother part-time because I had to share the kids with him. Like, who was I? So it also began a cascade of other events. We lost investment properties. I had to leave my home because even though I got it in the divorce, I couldn't afford it. So I sold it for less than what I owed. I had to rebuild a career, go back to work, because at the time I had been homeschooling my children. I had to put them back into school. I ended up declaring bankruptcy. So in a short period of time, and I want to say within a couple of years, a lot of things happened. I had to work my way through them, but eventually I got to this place where I realized that it wasn't all bad. I realized that I had a blank slate ahead of me, and I could be very deliberate about how I wanted my life to look. And so I became very intentional with how I wanted to live and what I wanted that life to look like. And so I'm excited to be here. That's a little bit about me. And now let's dive into what we're going to talk about today, which is setting an intention or setting intentions, right? And basically an intention is a goal. And we're usually taught to set goals. It's, you know, we're striving for a thing or for a destination, and you've got the end goal, and you end up breaking that into tasks, and you break the tasks into subtasks, and you just go through one step after another. And that is all great. There's nothing wrong with that. But to me, the piece that gets overlooked, the piece that we're never or rarely taught, is how to amplify your goal with your emotions, right? So how to create a web between your intention and your feelings. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper in just a moment, but let me share with you my intention for this week of Flourish training. I have 3 of them. Number 1, by the end of the week, I want you to have experienced some kind of transformation. So I looked up the definition of transformation. And the definition is a change in form, appearance, nature, or character. So I want you to transform the way you look at your life, the way you think about your goals, the way you just look forward in your future. So that's the first one. I want you to have a transformation. The second intention for this class is that by the end, you will be feeling emotions like excited, hopeful, optimistic, and that perhaps you're replacing those with some other emotions that you may be feeling, like frustrated or overwhelmed. So that's my second intention. And then my third is how I'm going to feel at the end of the week. And my intention is to feel proud, is to feel confident that I delivered the best training I could possibly provide. So those are my three intentions. So the thing is that you will have a transformation, and the way I'm going to feel is proud and accomplished. So I think together I am going to accomplish that goal. All right, I've got notes here in front of me. Let me flip them over. Okay, let's talk more about feelings and emotions. I use those two words interchangeably. To me, they are the same thing. But basically, a feeling or an emotion is literally a vibration in our body. Each feeling vibrates at a different frequency. So way down at the bottom, the lowest level emotions that we can feel are things like depressed, grief, powerlessness, right? Those feelings make us feel heavy and stuck and unable to move. They are literally vibrating at a very low frequency. And then at the complete opposite end of the scale, we have high frequency emotions like love and joy and enthusiasm. And those are the best. I mean, think about the feelings or think about the experiences that you've ever had. Maybe you birthed a child, or you had the best wedding ever, or maybe you won the 5th grade spelling bee. Do you remember what that feeling was? Like that excitement, that joy, like, oh, it's just so good. And that is an emotion that vibrates at the highest frequency possible. I want to suggest that most of the time we are feeling some emotion in the middle. There's a big middle range. Sometimes maybe the middle is frustrated or guilty or overwhelmed, right? And we end up feeling these emotions because we are responding to the world around us. Things are happening to us, things are coming at us, and we're thinking thoughts like, oh my God, I have to deal with this. I'm so busy. I can't possibly fit that in. I have to handle everything. And if you think about emotions, or the way I think about emotions is as if every emotion is a rung on a ladder, right? And you can either be climbing up the ladder or scurrying down the ladder. And when we are in the middle, when we are like scrambling up and down and responding in that middle level, like we are exhausted. Like, of course we're overwhelmed. We go up, we go down, but I'm going to suggest that you can become more deliberate about how you feel. And the way you do that is to become more deliberate with your thoughts. And I'm wanting to teach you how to increase your awareness of how you feel and what you're thinking, so that your brain will begin to look for evidence to support what it is that you want. All right, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about when I say, let your brain look for evidence. So let's say I plunked you down on my front porch and I live on a fairly busy street. And I say, okay, for the next 20 minutes, I want you to count the number of red cars that go by. Don't mess up the number. I want you to get every single one. And we're going to see how well you did by comparing it to the video that I'm going to take of the street and of all the cars going by. And so you sit there and you want to get this right? Like you're really going to get this number and you're going to nail it. So you sit there and you look for every red car that passes by. And then after 20 minutes, I say to you, okay, so how many blue cars went by? You would be like, what? I wasn't looking for blue cars. You told me to look for red cars. I have no evidence of any blue cars, right? It's because you were hyper focused on the red cars. So what I am suggesting is that when you are setting an intention, when you have a goal, you set an intention of how you want to feel, and then you look for evidence to bring that feeling and to bring the thoughts that support those feelings to you right now. Because so often we set a goal and we say, I'm going to be happy when I achieve X, right? So it's like we defer all of the happiness until X, and then sometimes we never get to it. It never actually happens. So I want to give you an example of how you might consider setting an intention and feeling your emotions about that intention right now. So let's say, I'm going to paint a picture. Let's say you are an accountant. Let's say you're a CPA and you work for a firm and you've been there a long time and you can see that you're going to be a VP someday, right? That's coming down the pike and you're like, oh, that would be exciting someday. Okay, great. But you don't know when it's going to happen. Meanwhile, you're a mom, you've got a couple of kids, you've got a couple of pets, you're married, you're a part of the PTO, you volunteer at your church, you've got a lot going on. You are juggling balls like nobody's business, and you are a master at it. But you're not feeling exactly fulfilled in this life. Like you feel overwhelmed, you feel tired, you feel like you've got to handle it all, and you never get to what really energizes you, what really feels exciting, which is gardening. Like you love to dig your hands in the dirt. You love to watch your rosebuds bloom. You want to become a master gardener. And you want to teach and you want to educate and you want to learn more about horticulture. But every time you think about that, the thoughts that you're in your brain, the thoughts in your brain are, I don't have time. I don't have money to take that class. My time will come. It's not right now, maybe someday. And so that's one way to approach that intention or that goal or that desire of becoming a master gardener. One approach is to just think the thoughts, I can't do it. There's no way I can possibly fit that in. And your brain will look for evidence to support you. It will look at your calendar and say, see, I don't have time. It will look at everyone coming to you asking for your advice or asking for your time, and your brain will say, see, you can't do that right now. Or another way is to think the thoughts, you know what? It's totally possible that I can figure this out. I really think that if I set an intention, I can do it. I don't know how that's going to work quite yet, but boy, when I really think about accomplishing that goal, it just feels really juicy, right? So you start thinking about possibility, and you start thinking about, you know, you get new thoughts, because instead of feeling despair and frustration and overwhelm, you're starting to feel hopeful and excited and enthusiastic. So then your brain is going to look for evidence to support that thought and those emotions. So maybe you would see a video in your Facebook feed of a friend who is doing amazing gardening. Or maybe you get a postcard in the mail about an upcoming home show. Or maybe you get the idea of, if I ask my husband to come home early once a week, then yeah, I could totally fit that class in. Or maybe I could take a look at my time and realize I'm spending way too much time in my Facebook feed. I'd much rather go sit in a class and learn about what I'm super passionate about. So as you set your intention, as you decide how you want to feel, your brain will start to look for more evidence to support that goal and to support how it feels. And that is my biggest advice for this particular way of setting an intention, is to think about how you actually want to feel and to find ways to practice those thoughts and feelings now. So let's talk about practicing. What do I mean by that? Here's the thing, is that your brain does not know the difference between something that you imagine and something that you experience. So you can sit in the realm of possibility and imagine how you want to feel and attract more experiences and more evidence to you anytime. You can sit and just close your eyes and imagine, what would that be like? Like if I was going to teach about horticulture, what would it feel like to stand in front of a classroom? Or if I was going to transplant bulbs, you know, from my mother's garden to mine, what would that feel like to dig up the bulbs, have the dirt on my fingers, and then transplant them into my own garden? So swim in that possibility just inside your imagination, just inside your brain. Another idea is to just journal about it. Like, what would that feel like if you had already gotten there? What would it feel like to just write it out? What would that day be like, right? Or just practice finding other experiences that would bring you the same level of joy and the same level of excitement. And the key is to examine how you are feeling and examine your thoughts. Everything that you think in your mind is optional. If you think you don't have enough time, really take a look at how are you spending your time. If you think you are overwhelmed, take a look at, you know, what are some ways that you can get a little bit of relief. It's all in your brain. So I have one live participant right now, and I'm going to ask if she has any questions. Hey, Heather.
Hello.
What are you thinking?
Well, you know, I don't specifically have any questions, but I think my biggest issue, not an issue, I don't know. My biggest concern here is, how do I keep doing this? You know, I've heard this information before. I've done it a few times. How do I keep the excitement fresh and rolling and new? So I want to continue doing this.
Yeah.
I guess how am I going to build this habit?
Have you ever asked yourself that question?
Oh, Jennifer.
What would you tell you?
um, I I don't know. I mean, I guess it's maybe in my case, it's a matter of scheduling it, making it a part of my normal routine. But I don't
That's a
but I
that
don't
makes
want the freshness and the excitement to go away either. I don't want it
Yeah,
to become rote where it's okay, I always write in my journal every day. Okay, here I go writing in my journal. Yay, this is what I want to do.
right. Yeah,
I
you don't
want it
want that feeling of I have to, right? That's just
right,
going to make the feeling of overwhelm and, not having enough time
right.
even worse.
I want to have way more time to do the exciting things in my head so that I can do them in my real life.
Okay,
That's what I want.
right. I know. So I have this thing that I'm supposed to do every day, which is to use my foam roller so that my neck and my spine, don't cramp up, right? And
Okay.
so, what I guess the way I have managed that is that I do have a reminder on my phone, so it will go off, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I've got to do that. And sometimes I will do it in the moment, and sometimes I will defer it. But when I have the experience, when I do it, I feel so much better. So I remind myself that the feeling is so worth it. Like whatever I'm stopping right now doing, like I'm going to get relief if I just take 5 or 10 minutes and I do that foam roller.
Okay.
And so it's the same idea with practicing our thoughts. Like you can set a timer or a reminder, and you can do it. Like you could put random reminders on your calendar, right? So that it's not always the same day, same time, gotta do this. Or you could also mix it up. Like one day, like, oh, I'm gonna journal. One day, I'm just gonna sit here for 5 minutes. One day, I'm gonna go for a walk and I'm not gonna listen to a podcast and I'm not going to, listen to the news. I'm just going to think about what is it that I really want. Like to me, there's a million ways to tap into it, but I've also been practicing and doing this for a long time, and I
Yeah.
realize the value of doing it. But it is a practice. It is building a muscle. You've got to want it. You've got to
Yeah.
want it so bad that it's more important than anything else.
Yes.
And we'll be talking about that tomorrow in a little bit more detail.
Okay.
It's a decision. You have to decide that this is important to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Because when you defer, nothing changes. You bring all your old thoughts with you and nothing changes.
Well, I tend to just feel cruddy that I didn't just do it. And why did I make all these appointments and reminders to myself if I'm not even going to do it anyway? And so then I feel worse.
So you have to decide. Like, it sounds like you're going to feel bad either way, right? You're either going to not change and things are going to stay the same, or like you're going to decide to do it and it's going to be uncomfortable, right? You're going to have to get through the the discomfort of doing something different. And that is really a commitment to yourself. It's honoring yourself above other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a decision. You got to want it. It is work. I'm afraid work is involved.
I get it.
I know. Just I don't know, you just tap into the emotion though. It is a practice.
Okay.
I've been building my foam rolling practice and I've been building my meditation practice. Meditation is getting really juicy though. I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
It's worth it. Yeah. I've been listening to a guided meditation by Joe Dispenza. Oh, it's an hour. It's a big commitment, But the other day I did it and it was like 5 minutes. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I sat here for an hour. I feel like I just started, and it felt juicy. So I love that juicy, and I got to go back. I got to get some more of that. It just feels so good.
Okay.
I think you like to, not like to, I think the thoughts that you're thinking, like that whole have to notion, is what makes it feel not fun.
Yes.
Oh, I have to work on my thoughts so that I feel better. Well, that doesn't feel good at all, right?
Agree.
You're missing out on that juiciness. So instead, you might choose the thought like, I get to do this right now. Like, I am so excited to amp up my vibe with really great thoughts. Like, it's the best thing I can do today, not something that I have to do.
Yeah.
So it's all in your mind. It's all in how you're approaching it. Because which one feels better?
Oh, for sure.
I get to, not I have to.
I get to.
You get to. Because the alternative is nothing's going to change.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. I feel like we might have talked about this before.
I don't know. It sounds so familiar.
Jennifer, you just keep saying the same thing.
And yet I'm not listening yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You will when you're ready. You are getting there.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, all right. Anything else today, right now, that I can
this is
help
good.
you with?
Where's the Joe Dispenza podcast? Is it a podcast or a meditation?
This was a meditation. I downloaded. It was $13. I will post the link in the Facebook group.
Okay.
I will say that this particular meditation is a little bit intense in the beginning.
Okay.
He starts with this breathing technique with this very exciting, like, interesting music. And then it sort of chills out. And then I've noticed that, like, the meditation makes his voice like a normal voice, or like they slow it down. And at first it was really weird. And now I'm used to it and it doesn't bother me. But it goes along with a book I'm reading about his, it goes along with a book I'm reading of his called Becoming Supernatural. And I'll post a link to that. And what I like about him is that the book, or he teaches you how to really tap into possibility using your thoughts and your feelings, and backs it up with science, like what's actually happening in your body with frequency and how you can become electromagnetic. And it's like your thoughts send out signals to the universe about what what you want to create. And then your feelings and emotions act like a magnet to attract those experiences to you. And the way he explains it makes me realize, oh, this is not just an airy fairy, pie in the sky, weird law of attraction thing. Like, this is like, there's literally things happening in our body in creating possibility. And I find it very exciting, but it can get really heady. But if you're nerdy like I am, you'd love it.
Well, I like that whole philosophy where there's the science behind it, because then it's not all fluffy woo woo. It's no, this is for real.
It's legit.
Exactly.
And he explains it so that, like, I believe him.
I love that.
He knows a lot. And he has taught students all over the world how to create possibility in their lives. A lot of healing, like a lot of people who have overcome like massive health concerns and issues, and the stories are just phenomenal. Like, you can't not believe it. That's how I feel.
I love that.
Pretty powerful. Yeah. he has another book that I'm going to explore next. And it's actually written before this one. I may not get the title quite right, but it's something about how to untrain you from being yourself.
Oh.
Yeah. It's kind of like getting out of your own way, like how to create a new version of you. Maybe I'll post that one too, although I haven't read it, but it sounds kind of juicy.
It does sound good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he really, the other thing about him is that he had his own health issues. Like he got hit, he was on a bicycle and got hit by a car, and like his back became, it wasn't broken, but I think like discs became fused together or something like that. And surgeons insisted that he have surgery. And he basically blew them all off and said, no, I'm going to do it my way. And he would imagine in his mind all the vertebrae in his spine working completely correctly. And he's a chiropractor by training. So he knows what they should do, what they should look like, how they function. And he would just sit and meditate and picture his entire body working perfectly. And over time, I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but he healed himself.
Wow.
And it's just a phenomenal story. It's just like mind-boggling. And his whole premise is that you basically create a new version of yourself in your mind first, and then the body will catch up.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Super juicy. So if you can do that with your body, you can do that with anything in your life.
Even your kids?
Well, you can't control other people. They are on their own path too.
All right.
I know. It's rough. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for our little one-on-one here.
Yes, I know. I am going to post the recording in the group, so everyone will benefit from it. But I appreciate you being here and making it more robust for me.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
All right.
Bye.